Hey guys, Long Haul Larry, and I am actually at home. Kind of wasn't expecting to be home, wasn't supposed to be home, but had a little issue. Had a little thing with the boss yesterday, I guess. He wanted me to do some stuff, and I just wasn't going to do it. We had a little disagreement, and I kind of put my foot down, I guess. And it is what it is. And then I ended up, I just went to sleep and I got up and he still didn't respond or nothing. And I just went, I'm going home. So I just came on home and spent the night at the house and got me a full night of sleep and feeling a lot better. I've actually talked to the boss, just mentioned it to him to say, hey, when's my next load? And I guess I'm loading out on Monday at noon up in Green Bay. So I'm going to get the weekend to the house. So I'm thinking I'm going to do a few projects this weekend. One of the projects is going to be right here. This is my parents' lawnmower right here. And it's a Cub Cadet GT 3200, I guess it's called. And it has this motor in it. It is a Kohler Command 25. And when I worked at Kohler Company, I actually worked on the assembly line and I was also a mechanic of the line on these motors. And from what I understand is happening is the oil pump is malfunctioning or something. It runs for like 10-15 minutes, starts getting really hot, starts smoking and stuff. And then she said shuts it down, let it cool down and stuff. And she had a conversation with the Cub Cadet dealer that she deals with. She's had a lot of issues with this lawnmower. And the whole deck had to get rewelded and stuff, and I wasn't around, so she took it over there and they did it and all this stuff. And basically the guy says it's the oil pump. And he said it happens on these engines, they stop working. And he said, what you explained to me, it is the oil pump. And he's like, and he was just saying basically you're gonna have to put a new motor in it. I'm not really sure on that. But I've talked to my mom and I said, well, would you like me to tear it apart, try to fix it? And she says, no, we're just getting a new one. I guess they've had this one 15 years. And she said, I'm tired of it. And stuff starts seeming more and more is going wrong, so we're just going to get a new one. So they're going to go buy a new one. And I need a lawnmower for up in the UP. And my brother has one back here. This is one of my brother's fifth wheels. It's a pretty nice little fifth wheel. But I'm gonna turn well, if I can get the cap off of it. I'm gonna turn my light on here. My brother has this one, and this is another Cub Cadet. And actually the lawnmower is a really nice lawnmower. It's really dirty. It's been sitting back here and stuff, but it actually broke a rod. And it's been sitting here back here for a while. And I talked to him recently about, what are you going to do with that? Are you going to rebuild the motor? What are you going to do? And he's like, if you want it, it's yours. So I told him, yeah. So I have ordered an actual, what's called a short block for this. It hasn't shipped yet and everything. And I'm thinking about this stuff. The motor's junk. And I've been thinking about this and everything. And I'm actually thinking about going to Harbor Freight and just seeing if I can get a cheaper motor that'll fit in here. So I'm actually going to pull this down by the shop and I'm going to yank this motor out. I got to measure the shaft and all this stuff. So this is one of the things I was going to do. And this has got a 46-inch cut on it. This will be plenty big enough for up there. But I'm thinking about just putting a Harbor Freight motor, one of those Predator motors in this thing. I mean, it's not like we're mowing 5 acres of grass every week, you know? And I think one of those motors would be fine for years. And so I'm actually gonna pull that motor, I'm gonna pull that down to my shop after I get some things done, yank the motor out, measure the shaft and everything. And then I think I'm gonna take a run to Harbor Freight later this afternoon. And I'm gonna see if they have a motor over there and how much it will be. if I can get a motor, the whole motor for like under 500 bucks, I may just buy one of those and drop it in. And then from what I understood, my brother was saying something about, well, he was talking about just taking this one up to his cabin up in Townsend. And I guess what happens is it runs for 5-10 minutes and then it starts smoking and then you got to shut it off and let it cool. And he's like, I could mow my whole lawn in 10 minutes. But I was saying, well, I could tear this apart. I was saying to my mom, I could tear this apart and I probably could make this, you know, fix this motor. And if I can't fix it, I could get another Kohler command motor and put it in there. And I checked the prices on it and they're right around $2,000, $2,500 bucks for the motor. And she said, nope, I'm buying a new one, but your brother's thinking about taking it. So I talked to him and I said, well, if you want your other one back, you can have it. And I said, I'll fix this one up and run it. And he's like, no, I gave that to you. That's yours. You do what you want with it. And I told him what kind of my plans were with this. And he said, well, if you can split the case and you can find what's wrong with the oil pump and get it fixed for a couple $100, he goes, I'll definitely pay for that. He goes, but I'm not going to buy a new motor. And he goes, so if it comes down to that, I'll just do that. And he says, I'll just keep running it and try to mow my grass in 10 minutes, shut it off. And he goes, if the motor blows up or whatever, I'll just haul it to the junkyard. So that's the plan. So I got those couple things working on. I have an older Ford Expedition. It's been parked for years. It was actually parked right over next to that Ford 250 there. And it was sitting over there and it's on concrete. And what happens is that when it sits down there like that, it rusts on concrete. And so the brake line's all rusted out. And I'm going to need my Expedition probably this winter because I'm going to be doing a whole rebuild on my F350. And while that's down, I need to have a vehicle to run around and get parts and go here, there, go whatever. And so I decided I'm going to see what I can do about getting my old Expedition back up and running. So I charged the battery and fired it up and it runs fine. I mean, it did always. It has that little Ford issue on the older trucks. The transmissions, when you first fire it up, if you put it in reverse, it doesn't want to go in reverse. It kind of slips and stuff. But once it gets warmed, then it works. But she's got a lot of rust on her and everything else. But the brake lines were all rusted out. So I tried to pull it apart and I tried to pull the line off that goes from the brake, the cylinder here, and goes up to the frame, and then there's metal lines that connect on there, and I could not get it to thread off of there, and I ended up actually wrecking it. And it's this little deal right here. This little thing right here. And it actually messed up this end. So I have been trying to find another one of these, and it turns out Ford doesn't make these anymore. And I have been at AutoZone, Advance, nobody has them. And I was at the Ford guy this morning talking to him about it, and he's telling me, yeah, Ford don't make them anymore. They make the left, but they don't make the right. So he says, maybe an aftermarket, and he punched it up, and he found this. And this is made by Dorman. And they actually make that hose. And he got on a website and he looked around and he found a little shop in Fond du Lac that actually had one. And he called them up and he said, yep, we have it in stock. We have one left. And the guy told him, he said, I'm sending a guy there to get it right now. So I actually went and got this, and then I got a bunch of connectors to connect up to the different hoses. And then I got all new brake line. And basically what I'm going to be doing is, it comes off the master cylinder here. And you can see the brake lines going down. And they go down onto the frame, and then there's a connector that's down kind of underneath the driver's side door that's on the frame. And once you get past that connector, the brake line just runs along the frame to go to the back, and it's really rusted. So I'm going to try to break that loose back there right on the frame. I'm going to try to break that loose, get that connector loose. If I can't, then I'll cut the line where it's not rusted so bad, and I have a connector, a union for brake lines. And I'm going to run all new lines back, and they'll go back here. And then there is this deal right here, and that's where the other line tees in, and then the line goes up and over and goes over to the other side, and I'm tying it there. So I'm going to try to get the brakes right. And you see how rusted this is. I mean, the shocks are junk, you know. But hey, it'll run for a month or two while I'm, you know, rebuilding my F350. That's all I'm looking for. The underbody is really rusted. It's really bad. You can see it's just nothing here left anymore. It's just, it's been sitting too long. That actually was a step ladder or steps thing right here that was on the side of the truck. And when I pulled it in here, it actually broke loose. It was hanging on one side. I just grabbed it and I jerked it back and forth a couple times and it broke right off. And so it's just sitting there. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, this was I put a lot of miles on this truck. I had this thing for quite a few years. I actually bought this from a DNR. It was a DNR truck in Indiana. I bought it at an auction down in Illinois. And I think I paid, I want to say like $2,200 for it or something like that. It was really cheap. And it actually had one of those lights. You can see right here, the cutout. It had one of those those LED lights, or what, not LED, but it had a light that you could point and you could move around like a cop car. And for DNR guys, you know, out there in the woods and stuff. And in the back of it, it had all a wire cage that you could cage off the back for like dogs and stuff, to put dogs and stuff back in there. And then the floor inside is all rubber. It doesn't have carpet. It's all rubber flooring. It was a very basic model of an Expedition. And when I went through, and they had a couple of them, and this one here wasn't running right. And they had, I think, 3. And one guy bought one. And then the other one, I fired it up, and it ran fine. And I think they wanted like $35,000 or $4,000 for it. And I fired this one up, and it was missing really bad. And there was another guy there looking to buy one too. And we were kind of fighting back and forth. And who was going to get the ones? And they wanted the same price for this one. And then finally the guy that was selling them said, I'll tell you what, I'll make a special deal on this one because it's not running right. And the other guy was like, please take it, please take it. And they knocked a whole bunch of money off, and I knew what it was. Fords, they have a issue. This year they came out with what's called a spark pack. And instead of having like a distributor and then having spark plug wires, each spark plug has its own what's called a spark pack. And then they just have a wire harness that goes to each one. And I knew right away it was one of those spark plugs. And so I said, okay, I'll take my chances on this. I knew what it was. And drove it home, and I made it home. It was all missing and it was running really rough. Made it home, and I put a couple of spark packs on it. And I actually had the Ford dealer do it for me. And they put, I think, 2 spark packs on it, and it drove great. And it seemed like about once a year, I would have a spark pack going on this. And finally, I got tired of taking it into the Ford dealer, and it was like $250 for a spark pack. I actually went on eBay, and I bought a whole 8-pack of spark packs for this thing. And I think it was like $200 for all 8 of them. They were like an aftermarket thing. And I came out here one night, and I just replaced them all. And they worked great. And it was like, I'd get like 2 or 3 years out of them or so. And then one of them would go out again. And I would just order that same kit and put them all through there. I've done that a few times to this truck. This truck has given us a lot of miles. When I had my place up in Townsend, Wisconsin, this was we had trailers all hooked up with our snowmobiles and everything, and all the kids would pile in. It has a third row seat in it. You know, there was a lot of trips in this truck. I've had this thing for a long time. But we're going to see if we can just get her running, get these brakes fixed up. That's what I'm going to start working on today. And it's going to be replacing brake line. And got all the different little connectors I think I might need. Hopefully everything's going to be good. And start going through this thing and see if I can get the brakes. Maybe tomorrow I need to run up by the drunk carpenter up there. Get this red box out of my garage, my shop here. Yeah, the red box is bothering me. Well, guys, I got all this fancy camera equipment and everything, and it turns out I decided not to use the microphones. I was just going to record the camera, but I didn't realize I needed to unplug the plug out of the camera to get sound. Yeah, I messed up. But I'm just kind of showing you guys my Expedition here.
She's an older one. It's got over 400 and some thousand miles. I've had this thing for a long time. I was talking to girls that are like, "Why? You had this thing forever." And they used to borrow it from me all the time because it had dirt seating, and they'd be like, "Can we borrow the truck? We got a bunch of people." I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." But I mean, this thing has been through it, and it's really rusted out and stuff. But the thing runs awesome. Tracy showed up, and I had it running, and I was bleeding the brakes and stuff. And she's like, "Why are you junking this thing?" I said, "You haven't seen the underneath of it." But it runs really good. It's very surprising. But it just rusted out. It was rusted bad when I parked it, but it just fell apart. But it'll run fine. But I was just showing the brakes there and stuff that I replaced all the lines up to there, and you can see those couple leak spots were in the ground there were leaked. When you double flare stuff, you got to go back and tighten the fittings once in a while to get them to seal up good. So, but everything is good with that, and the truck is running good. So I'll have a good truck to run when I'm fixing up the F350. And then I was showing the lawnmower there. I pulled the motor out and measured the shaft, and I said, "I'm going to be going to Harbor Freight." And I told Tracy, "I'm home for a couple days. You want to come down?" And she's like, "You're going to Harbor Freight? I got a list for it. I'm coming." It's the only one I know that likes to go to Harbor Freight. But then she's been having a little bit of an issue with her car. She's been having some noises in the back. And I looked at it, and one of the brake calipers was stuck in the back. I don't know if you guys remember, I did a video a while ago on her car. I redid the front ones and put all new calipers and new brake rotors and brake pads and everything, and did a bunch of steering stuff. Kind of rebuilt the whole front of her car, and she's been having some issues in the back, so I decided just to go out, and I just don't want her to have any problems. So I went and bought 2 brand new calipers, rotors, brake pads, everything, and redid everything in the back. And I was just showing at the front, it's all brand new and everything. So she is good to go now. She does have another issue. Her differential is making noise. So I'm going to get one out of a junkyard and just put a new differential in there. That's what I think I'm going to go with. But then I was joking around, and we had a little argument here. So it's probably good you don't have sound. But I was talking about why is women, it's like Kohl's. They have to go to Kohl's. She came down and she's like, "We're going to town. There's a Kohl's there." And she's like, "I want a foodie grill. Let's go to Kohl's." I'm like, "Oh, man." I actually stood in line, and I'm joking around. Why do women go to Kohl's and think they're getting these deals? You know, she's arguing with, "It is a deal." All this stuff. It's just so funny. But yeah, it was funny. We were just having a little argument. And as you can see, I'm winning that argument. You can even see by the look she gives me. I don't think so, but you know what I mean. Well, I'm going to let you guys go. I hope that everybody out there is having themselves a great day, great night as you watch this here video. If you're not, you can try that all over again tomorrow. Yeah, I've been gone for a few days here and stuff, but I'm back. I just have been having a few personal issues, but I'm back. You can see by the look she gives me right here. Yeah, like, yeah, whatever.